Plenty of time to come and be served at the refreshment center before showtime.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
So we are coming into another special episode of one of our favorite films. Now, this was on my list for 5 bucket. I don't know if this would
I'm not going to
qualify.
argue. I am not going to argue with you in any way, shape, or form on this one. It probably wouldn't have been on my radar, to be honest with you, but you can't. I don't think there's a single thing that you can fault against this.
No, you can't. And
this is a much beloved movie. As bizarre as it, and you know, we talked on previous episodes about movies that kind of screw you up as a kid. Like there's certain parts in this that are really, even now, very disturbing.
Especially that scene with the boat. Now I have to brace myself to this day when they go into that tunnel.
I'm going to jump the gun and tell you that the other actors thought that he had lost his freaking mind when they filmed that scene. So I guess they didn't rehearse it beforehand. The crescendo that he goes from that kind of monotone mumbling to like this maniacal
screaming at the end, like
like so. Now, did you read the book?
Yes, and after the fact. I didn't read the book first.
We can honestly say neither one of us have ever seen this in the theater.
No,
unless it was a revival. So 71, I mean, yeah, we were both really young.
They played this, when I first got HBO probably around the time of Star Wars, 77 or 78, and they played this constantly on HBO.
That might have been where I saw this, or maybe on ABC TV. I mean, movie of the week or something. But
right.
I mean, this is a movie I couldn't tell you the first time I saw it, but it's like one of those things you see it once and you know it inside and out.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife was singing every song. It's just part of our childhood.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that this is like a marketer's dream. Hearing some of the backstory about how this movie came to be.
Did we tell them what we're talking about?
We are talking about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971.
1971.
Not Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No. Mel Stewart is the director. Now, he's not really directed like any famous movies other than this. He's done documentaries, he's done other films, but this far and away is probably his most famous movie. And at the time, his daughter, who was 10, had just read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, brought it to him knowing that he was a filmmaker. Like, you have to make this movie now. This book I've just read.
Written by Roald Dahl. What kind of first name is that?
It does not roll off the tongue. Let me tell you that.
It does not roll off the tongue?
Whenever I refer to him, I'm just going to say Dahl.
Dolly.
Mel Stewart read the book and he's like, yeah, this is fantastic. The money was put up by Quaker Oats.
This is amazing. I did not know this until I started doing research for this. Talk about Kismet product placement.
Yeah, and they at the time were trying to launch a chocolate bar. So he sold this as, hey, make a Willy Wonka chocolate bar. Then you could have your chocolate bar, and then the film will promote it. And
That's crazy.
They were on board. They were on board.
Why would you not be?
Yeah.
So this whole thing was greenlit because it was a potential product.
Yes. It was all because of the chocolate bar that the movie got made.
Yeah. And so then once the movie became popular, not only did the Wonka bar become popular, but then of course they went back and then they actually made Scrumdiddlyicious bars, right? And they made the everlasting gobstoppers. And
Yeah, so I think
as a kid they'd be disappointed.
Yeah, Nestle, I think, eventually bought out the brand, so they're the ones that makes everlasting gobstoppers now, but the Wonka name is still there. So but it's a Nestle product.
I hope no Oompa Loompas were hurt in the making of this.
I hope not either. I hope not. But
Augustus Gloop's stuck in the tube.
But this is just pure nostalgia. Like, just from the opening shots of all the chocolate being made, it's like you're on the Hershey factory tour. You're seeing like Malamar, bars. You're seeing like Kit Kat things. You're seeing like the ripples of fudge dropping down from the top of the screen, and you're hearing that great montage of songs that you're about to hear in the movie
that you didn't even know that you knew, but
yes,
now you do.
Yes,
right?
Now you do. Yeah,
that was filmed in the Tobler factory, by the way.
Was it
yeah,
really?
Yeah, because most of this was filmed in Germany.
Yes,
Munich.
which I love. I love the fact that they filmed it in Germany, and just
because it has that otherworldly feeling to it. As a kid, it's just it's like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's like those early Disney movies that were like just in like these off the grid towns that just seem so magical to somebody who grew up in America.
Yeah, because everything is very old school European, almost like a Dutch kind of Dutch Wonderland kind of a feel. And what's funny is if we have any listeners in Germany, I have to apologize because you're probably saying this doesn't seem otherworldly to me.
I know. Yeah. That's my neighborhood, jerk. New York City's otherworldly to them.
Yes, yeah,
which it is, by the way.
Filmed in Munich. That New York City is otherworldly to us, and we live about an hour, and I live about an hour and a half out of the city.
It was Emerald City for me as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
All the songs, Anthony Newley songs, instant classics. The first song that we get is
like 30 seconds in the movie.
The Candyman. Yep.
Which they actually wanted Sammy Davis Jr. Or did Sammy Davis Jr. He wanted to play that. He wanted to play that role. And they thought, the director is like, I don't need a big name guy to kind of take you out of the movie right up front.
Yes, which is brilliant.
Oh yeah, no, that's
and kudos to him for not taking that bait.
Yeah, because that's a big name guy. Yeah, you want that movie to be large and Sammy Davis Jr.
Take a sunrise.
But then he made the song his own anyways.
Yeah, he did.
He's synonymous.
But the guy, the proprietor in the movie, a little creepy, this guy.
I don't think those kids actually were paying either. Like he's just like throwing Wonka bars left and right.
And he's touching left and right too.
That's right. He was patting those kids down.
Yeah.
Don't trust your candy man.
Especially there was one girl in a green dress he got a little bit too close to. So yeah. But also there's a very ominous feel about the guy because at the end of the number, he takes out takes the lollipop out of its wrapper and holds it up and almost like mocking Charlie, who's looking through the window. And this is where we're introduced to Charlie Bucket, who can't have any of the candy because he doesn't have any money to buy the candy.
Yeah, hence the name Bucket, just like Willy Loman. You're telling me all you need to know about this kid.
And then so he's walking home from school or his paper route or what have you, and he walks by Wonka's factory, which happens to be in his neighborhood, in his hometown.
That's good because when he wins the fifth ticket, sorry, spoiler alert. The opening is literally the next day, so it's not like he could have got on a plane.
Yeah, he's just got to go 2 blocks over.
He's got to go him and Grandpa Joe.
The end of the Candyman ends with ominous overtones, but not only that, he's walking by the factory and it's very dusk, it's dark. There's the
iron gates that make it look
the ka-chunk factory sounds going on, and suddenly this tinkerer, as he's later described as, comes by.
Knife salesman, right?
The first scary scene of the film. There's a bit of foreshadowing where he says, "Nobody ever comes in, nobody ever goes out. Beware, little men." As if the Oompa Loompas are dangerous. What does this guy know that we don't know?
They might be eating them on the back end. Who knows?
Maybe he was an ex-disgruntled Wonka employee that got fired because of the Oompa Loompas. Who knows who this guy is? Yeah. And then Charlie goes home and we're introduced to the family. Mom, who is probably this poor actress who was filmed in the worst light you could possibly film anybody. They're like, let's make this woman look as bad as we possibly can.
Yeah.
She's got the bags under her eyes. She's tired. She's probably not lit well at all in any scene that she's in. Poor Mom.
And there is a point where she's singing Cheer Up Charlie. And I'm saying, you should probably stop singing and get back to that wash because it's not going to wash itself.
And then we have the bedridden grandparents.
20 years you've been in bed? You'd have some serious bed sores.
Yes, you would.
Lesions.
Yes, you would.
There is no way you're jumping up out of bed. Why does he even have slippers at that point?
And imagine the state of this guy's toes. If So what is it? Grandpa Joe, Grandma Georgina, and I forget the other two. I don't know what their names are.
But there's 4 of them all together.
There's 4 of them all
together.
together.
What a bunch of sad sacks.
And
Get your act together. The poor kid is working more than you. The mom's working like 18 jobs. She's probably clipping her toenails.
She probably is. The beds are pushed together. The beds are pushed together so their legs are entwined, and they're it's a terrible setup.
It is. It is very disturbing.
And then Charlie comes home. I'm fed up with cabbage water. I'd be too.
Busting my ass out.
And then Mom says, Charlie, what are you saying? You're fed up with cabbage water. What about this? And he brings up a loaf of bread. So who cares where he got it? He got it.
Yeah. Yep. Good going, Charlie.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you far in life.
Charlie has a little bit left over from what he bought the bread with, and he gives Grandpa Joe the money to buy his tobacco. And then you have the scene where Jack Albertson is, portraying Grandpa Joe, says, if a loaf of bread looks like a banquet, I shouldn't be buying tobacco.
Yeah, good call, Grandpa.
And then he takes it anyways. Like, but if you insist, I will.
But if he's not getting out of bed, that's just one more thing Mom's got to do.
Yeah, I know. Right? I know. Yep.
So Jack Albertson, he was already a well-known actor. The one thing we didn't mention, this is 71. It came out. This 50th anniversary this year.
This year is its 50th anniversary.
50 years we have lived with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So, but he was in not Sanford and Son. What's a junkyard one?
Chico and the Man. After Willy Wonka.
Oh, it was after. Oh,
but he was a big, he's a big name character actor as well at this point. But he gets a little bit of backstory, and so does the audience, from Grandpa Joe about Wonka's factory. That Wonka shut down because spies were coming in disguised as workers from Slugworths and other competitors. And Wonka,
which is interesting that Grandpa Joe knows about Slugsworth.
Yeah.
Who magically shows up. I actually had a not a heated discussion with the missus, but we talked. I said, this guy is like everywhere in the world. He knows exactly where these tickets are. I said, how is he just showing up? And my wife is like, because he's planting them.
He's Wonka's employee. He knows where the tickets, what boxes they're going to be in. So he's following the tickets.
He's not picking the kids. He's not picking the actual kids.
I think he's just following the tickets.
Because I would have picked a hell of a lot better crew than every one of these kids. Well, even Charlie to a certain degree.
But it makes sense.
Piece of...
Because, all right, so he knows, say if Wonka's sending out the tickets a box at a time so they can be more controlled, right? This guy's following where that box is going, and he's seeing who's buying it. So he's probably watching whatever shop that's being bought at.
He's got some serious frequent flyer miles because he's going to Germany. He's coming back. They're going to,
So it was easy for him, especially with Veruca Salt, because he knew, okay, that box is in amongst the 20. Eventually, they're going to find the ticket once they're opening all these boxes.
Yeah.
But yes, it's telling that it just happens to be children that all... just who Wonka wants, that it's children that actually ends up opening the tickets, even though we have the one adult who tried to, sneak his way in. But
and of course, the one adult is the one who lied.
Yes. Yep. Because that's what adults do.
That is, we don't trust adults. Very telling there, Mr. Wonka.
Yes, it is. So again, Grandpa Joe says that Wonka shut the factory down to keep the spies out. And for 3 years, nothing happened. Like Wonka wasn't producing anything. But suddenly, magically, the factory started up again, and nobody knows how they're making the chocolate because nobody's employed that anybody knows of that's working for Wonka. So how's he doing it? So that's the big mystery that we will learn a little bit later. Who is making that chocolate?
He hired Deep Roy, right?
No, that was that's an emphatic no.
That is the iteration we will not speak of.
No,
that's not true. We will be speaking about it.
Yeah, maybe we should do like a double feature of the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead and then the Tim Burton Willy Wonka all together.
Don't make me do that. We already went down that road once with the Burton Planet of the Apes.
This opens the film, this sequence, after we're introduced to Charlie. We get the news the next day when Charlie's in class, and I love this teacher, by the way, with the worst teeth on film in history, I think, is this teacher.
And I feel like I've seen this guy elsewhere, but I really couldn't find anything in his IMDb bibliography.
Oh, really?
No.
Maybe just, he's like a generic English kind of, big
David
player.
Batley. David Batley, but he played Mr. Turkentine, the science teacher.
And he's trying to teach the children on how to make wart remover. When we first are introduced to him.
For his own.
And I love this one line: "Mix this together, it's dangerous stuff. Blows you up." He's one of the same kids, and it's an English teacher and it's American students and they're in Germany, which is great. One of the kids that you saw in the opening scene, the Candyman, pokes his head in the class and tells the class about the Wonka tickets. So the teacher dismisses the class and everybody runs out to get their chocolate bars to try to find one of the tickets.
Class dismissed.
So from this point on, it's like two movies, really, from the first half and the second half. It's like two movies that are like jammed together like Frankenstein, because the tones are completely different. So I wouldn't have been surprised if it was two different directors, but it's not the case. It's all the same guy. But we get a montage, and it's helped along with news footage, and so you're following Charlie watching the events of the world, and like the whole world is taken by this hunt for the golden tickets. And these bits I didn't really appreciate as a kid, and I don't really now. You really want to get past this stuff and get to the factory.
It kind of like Space Jam.
Yeah, the whole psychiatrist thing, the guy's saying he's having the same nightmare over and over again, where the archangel comes and tells him where the ticket is, and the psychiatrist threatens him to find out himself. The computer, the kidnap victim. You just want to get by this stuff and get to the factory.
Man, they kidnapped your husband.
Yeah.
They want your Tonka bar. But I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and that goes on way too long. As a kid, you cannot deal with this when you know what's coming.
Yeah, there's 5 golden tickets to be had.
But in between these, there's some gold. There is some gold to be found here in these opening scenes, because you're being introduced to the kids one at a time who are finding the tickets. And the first one is Augustus Gloop. So
Dusselheim, Germany.
Yeah, they don't have to go the filmmakers don't have to go too far to film this one. And I love when you open up with a German reporter and he's got the antlers right behind him on the wall, so it looks like they're growing out of his head.
He's got his lederhosen on.
Yep, and the classic where Augustus's father eats the microphone when it's put in front of his face because they're all eating.
Gluttonous.
Augustus's line: "It's going to cost Wonka $1 million and fudge." As each ticket is being found, Charlie is getting more and more forlorn and desperate because he knows his lot in life is to never win. So it's just like Murphy's Law.
Yeah, Charlie's got a miserable existence.
And this is only making it worse. He knows that he's never got a shot. And so the second winner, of course, is Veruca Salt herself. And I can't say enough about this kid playing Veruca Salt.
Julie Doncole.
One of the most memorable characters, like in cinema, period, is Veruca Salt. Yeah. I want it now. And Roy Kinnear as her father, just one of the only second to Gene himself, I think, in the getting the funny lines category in this movie.
Wonka, are you for real? Yeah, Mr. Salt. You know what's amazing? This guy died in a riding accident while filming Return of the Three Musketeers in '89.
Really? I didn't know
that. Died, maybe not on set, but he died from an injury while filming. He was pretty old in this movie, so how old? He probably didn't belong on a horse in '89.
No. Yeah. But he's got some great lines, and he is worth it. Just if you go through this movie, just watching him, he's very funny. There's the one part where Veruca has him backed against the wall, like in his office, screaming at him. And the wife, who's just kind of ignoring everything except her yarn, who's saying, she's going to be very unhappy. You're going to be very unpopular. And she goes, I know. It breaks my heart to see her this way. And as he's backed against the wall, wincing at everything this girl says to him. And then
she actually refers to the ladies on the floor as South at one point.
Does really?
Yeah. She goes, those South in there. And my wife and I looked at each other. We're like, I guess it was acceptable back then because it ain't now.
And then he opens the window and he offers whoever finds it £1 extra in their pay packet.
Bonus. And they all go nuts.
Yep.
It's like, how much are you not paying them? Ooh. 19,000 bars an hour they're opening, by the way, which is just,
And he owns a peanut shelling business or a peanut business. So that's what they should be doing when they're not opening Wonka bars, is shelling peanuts. So that's why he says a little bit later when Violet's father asks him what he does, he says, nuts. Yes, we get Slugworth whispering at Veruca, and we got Slugworth whispering in Augustus's ear as well.
Yeah.
once the ticket is found. And then the next one is Mike TV. And this
I met this guy once.
Oh, you did?
At a convention. I did not get his autograph.
Oh,
yeah.
What was he asking? Do you know?
I don't remember. It was not something I wanted at the time, so I don't. I wanted. There was 3 of them at a convention.
Or no, was it Violet? I think Violet is the next.
No,
one.
You're right. Violet is next.
Violet
Square
is
deal,
next.
Sam here.
Yep.
Need a car? Yep. Come to Sam.
Yep, and of course we get
Beauregard.
Violet Beauregard, who is a gum chewer. She's not really a chocolate fan, but for the Wonka thing, she put her gum down and she got into chocolate until she found the ticket. And she keeps talking to her friend Cornelia because she broke Cornelia's record for the longest gum chewing or something.
And she's like, how's that, Cornelia?
Yeah.
Don't stick that in your gum. Punch him. Well, punch them all. You know, the one thing I didn't really pick up on is that each one of these kids is indicative of one of the 7 deadly sins.
Really? I didn't pick up on that.
Well, think about the fact that Augustus Gloop is basically gluttony.
Yes.
Right? Veruca, greed.
Mm-hmm.
Violet, I don't know if you want to go with lust or I don't know. This is a work in progress, by the way.
That's a stretch.
This is a stretch,
Violet,
but my TV is vanity, I would think. And Charlie's definitely envy. So I don't know where Violet falls in there.
But we're leaving a couple of those deadly sins on the table.
Well, there's only 5 kids. All right. It was a work in progress.
Okay.
It literally, as we're talking, I started making notes. So apparently I did not think this through. Forget it. Rewind it.
Oh, I heard that the filmmakers actually meant for the kids to correlate with Infinity Stones.
That I buy. That's a long-term skin right there.
That is
the long game.
Then we get Mike TV after Violet, and so then we get the classic line, and it still makes me laugh to this day. Yeah, that's a Colt 45. Dad won't let me have one yet. Not till you're 12, son.
Not till you're 12.
After Mike TV wins it, then we get the fake ticket that's found by the millionaire in Paraguay. So Charlie is distraught that all 5 tickets now have been found. Goes to bed with tears running down his face one night.
We did see
once he hears
when they were down to one last ticket, that there was an auction, and it was like lot 403. It was the last case of Wonka bars, and yet somehow Charlie still ended up with
No, it was the last case of Wonka bars in the UK. So it was specific to
and it was 5,000 pounds, and I'm like, that's almost as expensive as the Fabergé 8. But somehow Grandpa ended up with a Wonka bar.
Well,
doesn't leave bed.
Well,
he used the tobacco money, right?
Well, again, Mom, like, hey, Mom,
so.
Can you pick me up a Wonka bar? Instead
of I would have
murdered
murdered all these people in their sleep. No wonder that mom, she's haggard for a reason, my friend.
Yeah, and do you see the stains on those pajamas when Grandpa Joe got up out of bed?
How come those are no longer in style? Those full-length nightgowns.
Yeah, I know. And when Grandpa Joe falls back on the bed, there was a real risk there of showing some.
I don't want to see a Wonka bar.
Charlie goes to school the next day and is learning about percentages.
This teacher, this is crappy. Way to call out the poor kid. 2? I can't calculate 2.
So let's just say you ordered 200 Wonka bars. Yeah. So Charlie is walking home and he's looking down at the ground. And because of this, he looks down a grate as he's walking by and he sees some money. So the glint of some money. So he reaches in, goes right to the candy shop. And the proprietor that we saw singing the Candy Man tells him that, I don't have to hide my Wonka bars anymore. You know, they're back on the shelf. So Charlie buys the Scrumdiddlyumptious bar because it's a big one, and he wolfs that thing down.
Yeah, that's kids. Don't bring it home because you're gonna have to share it.
Yeah,
the rest of them.
As he walks away, he changes his mind. He's not going to leave. He's going to buy another chocolate bar for his Grandpa Joe. It's actually the candy store owner that chooses the bar, which happens to be the one out front on. Well,
I think he read the script and he knows that Charlie's supposed to get it. Do you know? It's funny. All these scenes outside where Charlie's walking around, you know, it's in Germany because everywhere you go, there's a Volkswagen. And it may very well have been the same Volkswagen. They just keep moving it around.
And if you're looking at the posters, like the advertisements plastered on the buildings in the background, and the magazines, when he goes to the magazine shop, it's all in German. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but on opening day of the factory, when all 5 are there, there are equal amount of German flags and American flags being waved in the crowd there. But Charlie finds that he's got the golden ticket, and boom, we get the refrains of that song, the triumphant music, which still to this day I think raises the hair on my arms.
Well, even the little piccolo, the little 3 or 4 note when he opens and gets a ticket, like that's enough to get the hair on the on your back of your arm to raise up.
And he sees that glint of gold as he slowly peels back.
And then that damn old lady rats him out. She's like, "You got the list," because we find out that the adult lied, like literally in between the time he bought the ticket and then opened it,
because he's got the bar in his hand and he's hearing like the people on the street saying that the guy was found out that he lied about the 5th ticket. And now Charlie has a shot again, and there it is, it's in there. And to this day I open chocolate bars looking for that claim.
Did they ever do that? Did they ever like offer up an actual, I mean, not a tour of the factory, but
some kind of a contest? What a missed opportunity if they never did.
Right.
When Charlie finds out that he wins, the old lady grabs his wrist and is holding him.
That's what I'm saying. She immediately rats him out. She's like, "You got the last ticket.
Yeah, he's got the ticket.
Run home."
Yep.
Slugsworth finds him like almost immediately.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
another scene, which I found quite frightening as a kid, when Slugworth stands in his way, and whenever Slugworth is speaking, the camera is extreme close-up in his scarred face. Yeah,
he's got that scar, which does not add to his appeal at all.
No.
But he offers him $10,000 for the bring him to Everlasting Gobstopper. Screw the family. $10,000. I don't know how that translates into pounds, which is what he actually is using. Unless it was 10,000 pounds, and I just didn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. It doesn't matter.
But he's got something to chew on that Slugworth has given. So now you know what Slugworth has been whispering.
Whispered all of them.
What could he have offered to Veruca Salt?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Right, Veruca's got everything. Like that's nothing to her, because they're already getting a lifetime supply of chocolate. So that's you got Augustus Gloop like happy as can be.
But it's only a temporary setback, Slugworth. So yeah, he runs all the rest of the way home, and busts through the door with the ticket in his hand. And it says on the ticket, Grandpa reads it off to him, and it says that it's tomorrow, which Mom deduces, and that he's able to bring one family member. He's like, Grandpa Joe, it's too bad that you're in bed. I can't bring you.
Screw this.
Yep. I'm going. And then you realize, was he faking it this whole time?
That's what I'm saying. These are a bunch of. And do you think the other 3 grandparents are like really hating Charlie because all he wants to do is dote on Grandpa Joe? He doesn't even talk to the other ones.
Now, interestingly enough, the book features Charlie's dad. He doesn't go with him to the factory, but he does have a father in the book. It's
not here.
Not here, no. And I think it plays better that he doesn't in the film.
It's too many people.
But we get the big number. I've got a golden ticket.
Yep.
Look at me. Look at me.
He's dancing. Like I said, all of a sudden he's pulling out slippers from underneath the bed. And I'm like, you haven't walked in 20 years. Why do you need slippers?
Slippers, Charlie.
Yeah, I can't imagine that those clothes still fit him after all that time.
And this is where you see whatever that stain is down the front of his pajamas.
Dude, missed opportunity. Take your mom. Really?
Yeah. Then we get the celebration outside the factory, the news coverage of the 5 winners there, and they're all seated on a platform with their one family member each. And this is great when the clock strikes 12 and the door opens by itself, and out comes, and it's silent. There's no music playing or anything. And all you hear is the click, click of his heels and his cane as he's walking towards the front gate. And he is limping, quite obviously.
Yes, with his cane.
And this is a great story because I'm sure you heard it. It's on all this stuff.
Yep.
Where Gene Wilder insisted on putting this in the
This
film.
Was the only reason that he agreed to it was that I want this on edge. I want people these kids to not trust me.
Yeah.
Not to know what's real.
Yeah. He says, because if I do this, if I come out acting like I'm crippled and then do a somersault and I'm not, then the audience won't know if anything I say is the truth from this point on.
And it works.
And I didn't think of it that way as a kid. I just thought it was like a funny sight gag that he was doing. It's not like I was thinking that, I can't trust this guy. I'm like,
look at him.
How delightful.
He was lying to us the whole time.
And I love it.
The limp, the flip, the dismounts.
So here's where the movie goes in a completely different direction. As soon as they walk through those doors.
It becomes Gonzo.
Yeah.
because all of a sudden he becomes so much time, so little to see. Wait, reverse that.
Strike that, reverse it. Yep.
Reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He goes, what is this, Wonka? Some kind of a fun house? He goes, why, are you having fun?
Yeah.
Like there's so many throwaway lines, and he just plays them straight.
In the very beginning, after he makes them all sign the contract and like wave away all their rights, the Beauty and the Beast coat racks with the hands grabbing everything. People are screaming, and then suddenly the camera swings to him really fast. Little surprises around every corner, but nothing dangerous, which is a lie in itself.
Right?
Everything is dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think OSHA's been in there at all.
No. But then the door opens, they go into the chocolate room, and of course you get that refrain of pure imagination.
Pure imagination, yeah.
It's just one of the hallmarks, I think, this sequence especially, of cinema, period, in history, just the possibility of cinema, like to bring you back to your childhood or to make you feel like a kid again. And it's extremely emotional, especially Wilder's delivery of the song, as he's like looking into the distance and singing this. And you know that he's wanted to share this, like the way that he plays the character. You know that he's wanted to share this with somebody, but has never had the opportunity to until now. Who wouldn't want to just run rampant in this chocolate room?
Listen, if social media existed back then, he'd be like Instagram every day. Look what I got in my factory. Yeah. But you're right. This set is just, it looks cheesy and dated now, and we've seen it a billion times, but it still takes your breath away. You're really just, as a kid, walking into that, you can't help but feel what these kids are feeling.
I think the set is brilliant because it's designed by Harper Goff, first of all, who did the Nautilus, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, who designed this set. And it's very much made with that factory surrounding in mind, because when you look up, there's factory windows.
Right,
there.
Correct. Yeah.
So
it's still like within the confines of an actual.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, sunlight is lighting the set. Obviously it's probably not sunlight. They're lighting it in a way, but
Sure.
they do it. It looks like the sun is coming
It
through
literally
those
is a
windows.
world of pure imagination.
Yeah.
Because you have a chocolate waterfall, which
And
I guess was actually pretty disgusting on set, but on film it looks pretty impressive.
It looks like chocolate water, really, rather than
It's not like chocolate.
thick chocolate.
It's not like that damn chocolate fountains that you get at Ponderosa.
And then you're introduced to the Oompa Loompas.
Oompa Loompa.
This is where he was in those missing 3 years. He went off to see the world, and he found the Oompa Loompas land, where he saved them from Vermicious Canids and Wang Doodles and whoever.
Wang Doodles, yeah. We get some nice fun words thrown in there.
And like the Wang Doodle would eat 10 Oompa Loompas for breakfast, and I saved them. I brought them to safety. Yeah.
Why didn't you just bring a Wang Doodle back?
Yeah. Augustus is the first one, the first casualty of the 5 kids. He goes
5 minutes in, and the fat kid screws it up. 5 minutes in.
And Wonka, very tellingly, has no care in the world for Augustus. He only cares about his chocolate river, right?
Yeah.
Because
and then when he gets sucked in that tube, he's like, "Ooh, the suspense is terrible. I hope it will last." You're like, dude, you're a demon.
Augustus gets shot through the tube. Mrs. Gloop gets led away, and then suddenly the Oompas break into their first song.
Yeah.
And they're criticizing fat kids in this song, unfortunately.
Well, there goes Glutton.
And so then we get the Wonkatania, the boat that comes slowly around the corner. So it's like the Jungle Cruise of the Wonka factory.
Yeah, just a hell of a lot scarier.
And then they get in the boat, and they're all worried what the boat's going to do now that they've seen what happened. And even Mr. Beauregard says, "Yeah, you took really good care of that August kid back there."
Right. All according to plan, my friend.
So they start going, and things start to really get uneasy in the tunnel.
Well,
after they get on the boat.
Weird. This is, like you said, this is where like it becomes very disturbing for a kid, because you just saw the fat kid get sucked up into a tube, who may or may not survive. And then they're in the boat, and there's like the projection things on the wall, including like a guy with a bug crawling over his face. I'm like, what is going on here? Like
the worst for me was the chicken getting its head cut off.
The chicken, yeah, there's some weird stuff, but this is where Wilder just owns this.
There's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are. And Roy Kinnear is mirroring, like, every time Wilder sings a line.
Is it snowing? Yeah.
There's no earthly way of going. And then you hear Kinnear go, going.
Right, yes,
going.
exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, is this a sing-along? What's going on here?
Yep. And then finally it reaches, we talked about it before, it reaches a crescendo of insanity. The song, the rowers keep on rowing. And his hair is just crazy and out there. And then
you see them and the people in the boat behind him just looking at this guy like, what is going on here? Like, he is just mad.
Yep.
He is a mad hatter at this point.
He starts to scream and they start to scream as he's screaming. And then I think it's Mr. Beauregard that says, enough, Wonka. And then, you are quite right, sir. Enough. And suddenly they're outside the invention room, which is a fun little scene. This is where they we're introduced to the gobstoppers. And
candy?
Total foreshadowing where Wonka says, for children with very little pocket money. And he's looking at all of them, because he knows that Slugworth has already offered them all money. To sell them.
He's laying the groundwork there.
Yeah. And he gives them all one gobstopper. And I also like the inter-rivalry between Violet and Veruca as two alpha brats going at each other. This is also the scene where it's the 10-course gum. Violet is the expert on gum, so she has to grab a piece of this gum. And this is where Wilder starts in with when one of the kids does something. Stop, wait.
Right.
Come back.
Yeah.
He's beyond caring at this point.
Yep, another one down.
Yep.
He's weeding them out.
But it sounds, as this girl is describing what she's tasting, it sounds fabulous, this gum. Like, first it's a course of tomato soup. It's creamy, it's hot, it's dripping down my throat. And then it's like some kind of like a meat dish that comes next, roast beef maybe or something.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
And then dessert comes in, and
Here
that's
comes
when
dessert.
A blueberry pie. And she starts to get blue.
Violet, you're turning violet.
You're turning violet, Violet. And on the Blu-ray, because I bought the Blu-ray just for this occasion, and it is so crisp and clear. But my son was like, look, you can see the ray of light that they're shining on her face to make her look blue. It's so clear. Which kind of took me out for a second. I was like, don't tell me things like that, please. But then she starts to blow up like a blueberry.
I got a blueberry for a daughter.
Yep. And then the Oompa Loompas come back in and they sing the blueberry song. And it's actually about chewing gum, this particular song. One of my favorite things as a kid was when before they go into the tunnel and Violet says, spitting's a dirty habit, as she's picking her nose. And then Willie says, I know a worse one. That was my favorite scene.
She actually, I read that she had a crush on Peter Ostrom, who plays Charlie. And she did not want to do that scene. She didn't want to look like a dirty little girl in front of her.
Yeah.
She did it anyways.
Maybe it cost her Charlie, though, in the end.
Could be.
Yep, he went with Veruca.
I think he took the home of
But through all this stuff, Charlie himself is really hanging back in all these scenes. Because
he's out of his element.
The other kids need to shine in their individual death scenes, for lack of a better term. Yeah.
No, yeah. This is like any snuff film. Any of these horror movies, you hang back, you let all the intrepid kids step into the traps first, and
right.
Hopefully, your last man standing.
Violet is rolled away to be squeezed. Mr. Beauregard is clenching his fist and shaking it at Wonka. I'll own you. But of course, they've all signed. They've waved away all rights. So nobody's owning anybody at the end of the day. But from this point, they go into the fizzy lifting room with the fizzy lifting drinks. And this could be the end for Charlie and Grandpa Joe, because they're the ones. It should have been.
Well, he saw the other ones acting, but he saw the repercussions of acting like that, but he still gave in.
And it was Grandpa Joe's fault. He's the one that talks
Grandpa
Charlie
Joe
into
was
it.
Listen, you've been bedridden, dude.
He's
I'm
the
not listening
instigator.
to you
Yeah.
at all. Drink it, Charlie. Drink it.
So because Wonka himself's like, oh, no, we're not going to drink any. We're going to have kids floating all over the place. So let's move along.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for painting that picture. Now I want to float.
And are these two not missed at all? After this is a lengthy scene where they're almost cut to ribbons by the fan at the top of this thing.
Would that really cut them to ribbons?
It was a very slow moving fan. Their body
correct.
would probably stop the thing if they went in there.
Thankfully, belching saved the day.
Wee! They're both on their way up and they can't stop. But belching saves the day as they slowly drift back down. They catch up with the rest of the group, who apparently nobody misses them.
No.
Because they're in the Golden Goose room.
Quadruple sized.
Which is the big number. This is the big musical number.
But Easter's over.
I want a golden goose, Daddy. I want one now.
No.
And she can't have one. And so
Can't say no to Veruca.
No, you cannot. She goes into a fit. She starts knocking stuff over, and she has her big showcase number. I want
the world. I want the whole world.
I want a bean feast.
You're going to get a beating is what you're going to get.
So we've already had it set up that these big golden eggs are judged as being good or bad. And if they're bad, they go down the chute. So
Are they solid gold?
Well, no, he says that they're golden chocolate eggs. So apparently they're edible. So Veruca stands on the same platform, and of course she is a bad egg, and the platform opens and she falls down. And this is another great scene for Mr. Salt. He's laughing because he doesn't believe what he's being told. Oh, this goes down to the furnace. The furnace. She'll be sizzled like a sausage. And he's playing with his bow tie, and then Wonka grabs his tie. Like, not necessarily. The furnace is only on every other day.
Right. What day is it? Right.
And then so Mr. Salt jumps down into the garbage chute to save Veruca. And then he is a bad egg as well. Yeah. And then, of course, we get the song saying that it's the parents' fault when there's a brat.
That still comes up in therapy. I just blame my parents for everything, by the way, because no one wants to take ownership.
So at this point, we are only down to
Mike,
and Charlie. The Snosberries. Wasn't that in between at some point as well? Veruca was still there with the Snosberries, right?
Snosberries.
That's where she says, "We are the dreamers of dreams." That's the scene where he grabs her face and looks right at her.
Because she's like, "Yeah, Snosberry. Who is Snosberry?"
Yes. So then we go into Wonka Vision. Yes. So which is where Mike TV meets his demise. This is that
Mom on TV.
Yep. That set where Wonka can transmit a physical item from one location to the other, just like you can transmit a TV picture. And again, Mike TV grabs the controls and he jumps up there. Stop, wait, come back.
Right.
He hits the button. And then we also get that great scene where Mike TV is schooling Wonka on how a television signal gets while he's, lisping and in his little kid way. And Wonka says to him, "You should really open your mouth wider when you speak."
You wonder how much of this is ad-libbed by him.
But apparently this kid was a nightmare on set. The kid that played Mike TV.
Oh, yes, I did read that.
That Wilder
Paris
didn't like him.
Themin.
No,
like I said, he was at the one of the, I think it was New York Comic Con. This was years ago, doing a signing, and I just walked right by him.
And apparently when Gene Wilder at the beginning, when he pulls his hair, he actually pulled his hair because he hated the kid so much.
That is pretty funny.
He gets shrunk down. So he is in the TV now, and he thinks it's the greatest thing ever. It's not a punishment for him whatsoever.
No. Look, Mom on TV. Sure.
Yep. So the mother, picks him up, and it's like a little doll she puts in her purse, and then he ends up having to go to the taffy pulling room, and Mom faints. Gene Stapleton was originally supposed to play the mom.
That's interesting.
Can you imagine that? Oh, Mike TV. Don't go near that camera, Mike. So now it's just Charlie and Grandpa Joe left after Mike TV meets his demise, and we get the last Oompa Loompa song. Wonka's like blowing them off at the end.
Yeah.
It's like,
all right, see yourself out.
Terribly busy, whole day wasted, he says. And that's that. And it really is a whole day wasted because nobody has proven themselves.
Correct.
Not even Charlie and Grandpa Joe at this point because of the whole busy lifting.
Yeah,
thing.
and they're bugging him. He's like, "I said good day, sir."
Yet. But now here's the thing is I didn't really get, when you go into his office, everything is cut in half. So does that have any significance, I'm wondering? Or is that just like a stylistic choice?
Okay, this was the director asked for this because he thought at the end of the day, all the fantastic things that you saw inside the factory to walk into a normal office would be a letdown. So this was his idea to have everything.
So it's
there's no rationale behind it other than that he just didn't want it to be a mundane office. So the decision was made to take every prop that was in there and cut it in half.
Okay.
So like this guy was half mad, half crazed.
Yes.
I guess. But yeah, it was just a stylized choice on their half not to make it a normal office.
And it really does set you ill at ease when you go in there.
It is weird. It is very off-putting
And he's sitting there and he's ignoring them and he's, writing in his ledger or what have you. And Grandpa Joe comes sneaking back in saying, "What about the lifetime chocolate?" And this is where Wonka loses it. He's like, you stole fizzy lifting drinks.
Yep.
You bumped into the ceiling, which now has to be cleaned and sterilized, and his hair is just getting crazier and crazier.
And he's right.
Every word.
He's right. Yeah,
Yes,
they're no
absolutely
better than
right.
the rest of them.
Yep. He's like, you get nothing. He's like, he signed away your rights. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Yep. but I said good day, sir.
I watched this with my son, right? And I used to watch this all the time with him when he was younger. And he told me that this was the most memorable scene for him when he says, you get nothing. Like that made the most impact on him.
Wow.
You know, Charlie, he knew he was a poor kid and he's gone through all of this and now he's losing again at the end of the,
You started with nothing, you get nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
You got a nice tour of the factory.
Be happy with that.
Go back to your paper round.
So then Grandpa Joe, you know, again showing his character, Slugworth wants a gobstopper. He's gonna get a gobstopper.
Yeah.
And then nope. Charlie, he comes over, he's Mr. Wonka, and he lays down the gobstopper.
And it slinks out.
Wilder puts his hand on the gobstopper, so shines a good deed in a weary world. And turns around and apologizes to Charlie. Charlie, he's like, my boy. He's like, you won. You won.
You're like, what?
So he was testing him the whole time. Slugworth was a plant. He was an actor working for Wonka. So this is how Slugworth knows where all the tickets were. He wants a successor. Because,
surprise.
Yep, a grown-up won't do things my way. They'll do things their way, which is completely true, right?
Which is not put children in chocolate fountains and
Yes.
hire or subjugate an entire species of little people as your forced labor.
Hey, he saved them from pernicious canids and Wang Doodles.
Wing Doodles. I want to see a Wing Doodle.
Yes, so do I. But then we get the big, you know, the Wonka Vader scene, the finale, the climax of the movie. So now we learn that the whole family can move in, and I hope they have great laundry facilities for mom.
I hope they have bigger beds.
Yeah.
You each get your own bedroom. What? We're fused together 20 years later next to each other.
But even as a kid, I was disappointed with the wonky elevator. That, you know, which you could tell is just a little plastic thing on a screen that they're holding in front of a blue screen.
It does the job.
Yeah.
All those people getting eviscerated by the glass below, though, that might be an issue. Yeah.
We'll be cut to ribbons. That's like the third time that Grandpa says that in the movie.
Right. Yes, that is true. So does he have to wait until he retires?
It sounded like they're going to move in immediately. He's going to start to train them on the, you know, how to take care of the Oompa Loompas and all that stuff. That's years worth of training right there.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Factory's yours now, Charlie. Okay. Thank you very much. So apparently Roald Dahl was credited with writing most of this, but David Selznick rewrote a lot of it.
And when you read about what he actually changed, because Dahl disowns the movie to this day.
No, he didn't, because he didn't like the musical numbers. He thought it was.
How can you not?
Well,
how can you
I don't
not?
know. You know what it is when you create something and this is your vision, and then someone steps in and said, "This is fantastic. This is wonderful. I want to make it into a movie, but I want to add songs." You're like, no, there's no songs. These people don't sing. So you know, sometimes you just get full of yourself.
So yeah, and the whole Slugworth aspect wasn't in the book, where Slugworth was a spy offering the kids money. That didn't take place, but they felt that the movie needed a villain, which it kind of does, you know.
Yeah, sure, because it gives them ulterior motivations. Well, it gives both of them. It gives Wonka a motivation, because this is the true test.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the true test of what these kids' fortitude. You know what? You're gonna just sell me out the minute I give you something, then you're not worthy.
The fizzy lifting drinks thing, I think, was an addition. He was mad that they cast Gene Wilder because he wanted the British comedian Spike Milligan to play Wonka.
I don't know what that is.
Well, I'm not that familiar with him, but I know him from he hosted an episode of The Muppet Show. And it's not one of my favorite. Not one of my favorite shows, but he is a very well-known British comedian, but he's not that well-known in the States.
Once again, we're getting people in Germany yelling at us.
Yeah.
British in Britain. Well, the score was nominated for Best Original Score. I don't think it did not win. I don't know what it lost to.
Yeah, I don't know what it would have lost.
But it is. Well, that's just it. So right there shows you how endearing this is compared to whatever won.
But like you said before, they changed the title from the book to from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and that was due wholly to the chocolate bar that was going to be coming out because
it's more fantastical, anyways.
Yeah, it is.
Willy Wonka.
It is.
What the hell is Willy Wonka?
Mm-hmm.
Although when Burton made his, he put it back to the original.
And I love another thing that Dahl didn't like about the David Seltzer touching up the script was the final line, which is a great story if you saw any of this. But on the bonus features, they were talking about how in the original script, it ends with Grandpa says, yippee. And that's how it ends.
Right.
And so Mel Stewart gets there. They're on the day, right? And he's like, I can't end my movie with Grandpa saying yippee. So David Seltzer had already gone on vacation. He thought he was done with this, but they were still filming, but he thought he was done with his part. So he's in Maine, and he said that there was no phones where he was. He was in a cabin, and he happened to be like in a communal part of this campground where there was one payphone, and the phone starts ringing.
Get out of here.
And he's the only one there. So he answers it, and it's Mel Stewart from the set.
Hey, you got to hook me up.
Yep,
I need a last line.
I need a line. So that's where
Bugger off, click.
So that's where he says all he could think of was, and they lived happily ever after. So he elucidated on that just a little bit. Remember what happened to the boy who got everything he wanted? He lived happily ever after. And it's almost like Mel Stewart was like, I had my line. I could just picture him saying, gold, Jerry, gold. And
right. Click.
But that's insane that it's a payphone and he happened to be there and he answered the phone.
Imagine if it was like some stupid random person.
Yeah, I know.
I need a last line from this movie. Hasta la vista, baby.
So it didn't make a lot of money upon its release.
That.
For the year 1971, it was the 53rd biggest moneymaker that year.
Wow. What time during the year was it released?
It was released in June. It was a summer movie.
It had a nice 6-7 month run.
Yeah, it cost $3 million to make it. Only made $4.5 million at the box office.
Wow. You know what it is though? It's not an easily categorized movie because it is. Yes, I guess it's a kids movie, but there's so many disturbing. And I guess it also depends on how they promoted it.
Correct. Yeah.
Because the book came out what 64.
So yeah,
so it's like a 7-year window. So kids had to have known about the book.
I can't believe some of these reviews.
Rough.
Charles Champlin at the LA Times said that the songs are instantly forgettable.
Yeah, I think Charles Champlin is forgettable.
And then Variety said that the songs were not especially rousing or memorable. But Roger Ebert was ahead of his time. He gave it 4 out of 4. Saying it's the best film of its sort since The Wizard of Oz. And I wouldn't argue with that.
You know, speaking of Roger Ebert, I just came across a biography on him last night on, I think it was either Amazon or Netflix. Very fascinating.
Another funny aside, there was a deleted scene in the opening of the movie when we're going through all those things about the chase for the tickets, the hostage negotiator, the kidnap negotiator, and the computer specialist. There's one scene where an English explorer climbs up a holy mountain to a guru and asks him the meaning of life. The guru responds by asking him for a Wonka bar. The explorer gives it. When he opens it and sees there's no golden ticket, he says, life is a disappointment.
That it is.
Now, I would have thought that was funny, even as a kid, but they
but do you know why they deleted it?
Because life is a disappointment.
That's exactly what they told them. There's a lot of people out there who really think that life is a disappointment. I don't think we should include this.
It didn't play well in preview audiences either.
Oh, well.
So, yeah.
That just seems like a weird one to...
Wilder nominated for a Golden Globe, Best Actor, lost to Fiddler on the Roof. I forget who, was that Topal?
Oh, that might have been who they lost to with the original score, too.
Okay.
Now that you bring it up.
All 6 members of Monty Python were considered for Willy Wonka as well.
You know what would have been genius is if they used all 6 of them. Every time they went through like a different department, it would just be
a different guy?
Actor.
Yeah.
That would have been absolutely,
On the other spectrum, Fred Astaire and Joel Grey were both considered as well.
Fred Astaire.
And then we already said who Dahl wanted, Spike Milligan. Peter Sellers wanted it badly, but they, again,
Oh, I could see that.
yeah, I don't think that they wanted somebody that would take the audience out of the movie, because Wilder wasn't like really the big Mel Brooks star that he later
No,
became
71.
in
I'm
the
trying to
70s.
think
Yeah.
what he would even.
He was in the producers at that point.
Okay.
Filmed at the Gasworks at Stadtwerk.
Stadtwerk?
The entrance still exists, so that ironwork.
I did read that.
It doesn't say Wonka anymore, but the gate is still there.
Somebody probably stole it. Well, it was a prop. They probably put it. It's probably sitting in some warehouse somewhere with the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, I love the scene when they first go into the factory and he's drinking out of the little flower cup and then he eats it.
Yes.
That was made out of wax. So as soon as they cut, he spit it out. he sold it though, because it makes it look yummy.
Yes, he does.
It is not.
I got the impression that it was like an ice cream cone. That's what he was eating. Because that's what you hear. You hear the crunch after he bites into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but this is just timeless. I love this movie.
I agree. I don't really think that you can knock this in any way, shape, or form.
No.
So,
the performances are standout. Wilder is just a force of nature in this.
Yeah. It was finally put into the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress in 2014. So.
Yeah. And, talking about the Tim Burton remake, like, I can't see how anybody else could make this their own. Even though Johnny Depp went in that Michael Jackson really weird direction, which seems
it's funny that Wilder praised him for that role.
Did he?
But he disliked any remake of his film, so obviously he hated Burton for it.
Right. But I can't see how any actor could seriously consider taking this on.
Correct.
When barring like something like Star Wars or something like that, I can't think of another instance where an actor is so tied to a role.
Well, I think that's what Will Smith's issue with playing the genie in Aladdin is that Robin Williams is that character. I don't care how much manic energy you bring to the role. You're always going to be compared to that role.
Yeah, hopefully they don't attempt to do this again, but I can't guarantee that's
listen. Yeah, everything old is new again, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? So Wilder died in 2016 at 83, and I think Ostrom came out at the time and made some reference to I guess it's time to take over the factory or something like that. But this kid had like a 5-film deal thrown at him, and he never acted again. He walked away. He said, "No, we're good."
He's a vet. He's a vet now in upstate New York somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we should go search him out.
I should.
We should. I wonder if he kept any of the prompts. Like, what would you keep if you Everlasting Gobstopper would make the obvious choice.
And that looked like clay. That pretty much that's what that looked like. Yeah.
To have that and be like, there it is. That's an Everlasting Gobstopper.
That probably would have disintegrated over time
Wilder
if it was.
Handed that to me.
Yep. And there's a real danger to the character too of Willy Wonka. Like, again, because he doesn't care what's happening to these kids. He thinks they deserve it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We all deserve it. We all think they
and he's
deserve
not
it.
concerned that they're in any kind of mortal danger.
But what's interesting is that you never see these characters again, so you really don't know what the end result is. So you're told by him that
don't worry, they'll be fine.
They'll be fixed at the back end. But it's not like, as they're, Charlie's up in his little glass elevator that they're all like leaving the factory waving at him.
Yeah.
All back to normal. No, you don't see any of that.
And nor would you want to either. That would kind of spoil it, wouldn't it?
As a kid, it does leave that ominous, like, what happened to those people?
Yeah.
Maybe I should get my act together and not be a jerk. Maybe I shouldn't eat so much chocolate or talk back to my parents.
Yeah, once Charlie is an adult, he'll actually find the bones of Augustus Gloop.
Oh, that's his newest candy bar.
Yeah.
Ground up little children.
So I would very proudly like to induct at this time Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory into the 5 bucket list.
Well deserved.
Yes.
Yeah. And I did get to meet Gene Wilder back early 2000s. You had mentioned the producers before. He lived in Stamford, Connecticut. And he would show up every now and again at the Avon, little, boutique theater, probably been around quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a screening of the producers, and then I did a Q&A with him afterwards. And he came down, took pictures with us. He signed my Young Frankenstein DVD. I made the mistake of referencing one of his movies as the Cisco Kid, not the Frisco Kid. And he corrected me really quickly. But we were told after the fact, I went with two of my friends, and we were like giddy. This is Gene Wilder we just met and interacted with. And, and we're looking at the stuff, and this lady who works there said, he signed that for you. He talked to you? And they're like, yeah. He's like, wow, you must have caught him on a good day, because they had a screening of Willy Wonka probably months prior, and he would only interact with children. He would not talk to the adults in any way, shape, or form. We caught him on a good day.
I guess so.
I will take that with me forever.
Yeah.
That was a very special moment. He's very short, by the way.
Is he really?
Yeah, well, probably that hair back in the day would have put him up another 4 inches.
And let me tell you that Charlie was a worthy successor to that hair, because they seem to have some similarities.
Maybe
going
that's
on.
what.
Yeah.
Think Charlie's walking around with that hat?
Yeah, I think so.
Now?
I think so.
Did Doll ever make a sequel?
Yes, I think it's Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. Yeah, I read that and I didn't like it as much as the original.
Well, yeah. How could you?
Yeah.
I mean, what was the plot?
I think that they went back to the Oompa Loompa world. It was like going off into space, the elevator. So, it was a long time ago. So I don't remember
Burton
exactly.
kind of did that in his, right? Because he kind of fleshed out that whole backstory of Wonka going to go get the little Oompa Loompas.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But you don't really need to see that. It's.
No, I agree. Do you think they always sang, or did he teach them to sing? Is it like a singing society?
Yeah, well, they couldn't really judge anybody until that point, right? Unless they judged each other.
I don't know. I did read that pretty much none of them spoke English. The actors. Yeah. And there's a female, but I can't pick her out.
In the first scene where you first see them in the chocolate room.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So maybe like when
it's on Amazon Prime, by the way.
Oh, it's on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, I think I paid $3.99.
Okay. So maybe they did, work out the Oompa Loompa song, like when one of them showed up late for work and they sang, Oompa Loompa, you are late for work.
I don't even know if they really sang or they just mimed it. Well, worthy inclusion for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. $5. We're going to run out of $5. You think that every time you think that, wow, we've done a lot of $5, what more can there be? But there's a lot of gems out there.
Yeah, there are. And usually we talk them up ourselves. If they weren't a $5 first, then.
Right. No, this was a good call. I agree.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
All right.
Yeah, so there you go. $5 episode, kids. Go find yourself a Wonka bar and enjoy your day.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Step over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, TMIconfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you.
Slippers, Charlie.